Having said that, there's another part of the credit world, which is credit card debt and just consumer debt in general. That, of course, has been severely tightened as well, and made more punitive in some cases through higher interest rates. What do you see at the national level from the Congress's point of view in terms of their getting involved in that whole market, or are we just going to let the free market behave as it should have probably in the first place?
Well, I think generally what Congress is trying to do, and often doesn't do very well, is trying to enact economic policy that injects new demand into the economy where it doesn't currently exist. We're doing it artificially, if you will, until such time as the economy turns around and we have growth again. What you have is a pervasive sense of a lack of confidence. It's with individuals, it's with institutions, it's with the financial sector, and when that happens, everybody retreats. That's not the kind of economy that we want. We want an economy that will grow, that encourages responsible risk taking, and that's what the enactment of credit is all about. It's that the individual who's seeking credit has confidence that the economy of the nation and the region will grow, and those who are lending money have confidence in that ability, that individual or institution's ability to pay back, all of which is influenced by the overall state of the economy. So we have to get back to a growth mode where the economy grows again. And as you know, the economy is 2/3 consumer confidence. It's about how you and I feel about our economic future. If we're confident, we buy things. We buy homes. We buy cars. We buy appliances. When people buy things, people make things. When people make things, people work, and that's what drives the economy. Right now, you have a severe economic contraction where there is high unemployment. That unemployment is influencing people's economic behavior, and there is a ripple effect throughout the entire economy. We've not had this in 40, 50, 60 years. It's very different from any other economic cycle that we've gone through. I mean, typically, historically, the economy contracts and expands. It's a question of the duration of that contraction and expansion. I think there's some fundamental problems, and we've seen, it pervasive throughout this economy, the auto industry, the banking industry, but they're all connected to each other. And I think that's, the problem, the challenge, and the beauty of our economy, that everything is interconnected. So I think where we can instill confidence, where there is a projection of economic growth, a lot of those things will take care of themselves. But every once in a while, it may require government involvement to inject new capital into the economy, whether it's the auto industry or the banking industry or just generally speaking.
There's two ways to do that, as you know. And you alluded to one, which is the, quote, artificial, the term you used, stimulus in effect, which we now have seen over two administrations. Last fall, when the Bush administration pushed through was it $787 billion. And then there's the second round of stimulus, which went through in this administration. So we've had a lot of dollars allocated to this issue. The first stimulus, for the most part, went directly to institutions that were in trouble, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. The second round has been what has gone out into the economy has gone out in many respects to governments to prop them up, to support, for example, teachers' salaries, so that in New York City, I believe, is one example, so that those people didn't lose their jobs. So we have one way to do this is to stimulate the economy through tax or government dollars coming back into the economy in one way, shape, or form. Another way is to simply leave more money there to begin with through tax cuts.
Yep.
This has kind of been branded as do nothing on the part of the current administration. Where do you stand on this, and where do you see the value to the economy as a whole really taking hold through a stimulus package?
Well, the previous 8 years, to be very honest about it, was an era of big tax cuts and big spending.
Big spending is right.
No discipline. Now you have a new administration that's 6 months old. trying to confront some of these problems, and we'll see what happens moving forward. But I think, particularly, we're debating healthcare right now. We were talking before we came out in the air. We have, and I'm a co-sponsor of legislation, which is called PAYGO legislation. It ensures that what it is you're enacting is paid for, that you're not pushing this on to future generations, that it is what they refer to as, in Washington parlance, budget neutral or deficit neutral. I think that's a very, very important provision in any major legislation that you do. And how are you, who are the overseers of this? Well, we have what's referred to as the Congressional Budget Office, which is bipartisan, and it basically does an independent analysis of any proposed legislation and says, well, this will add to the deficit, this will create a surplus, and we're going to depend on the Congressional Budget Office, again, which is nonpartisan, to inform Congress about what it is, what the effect of what we're doing is going to have, not only in the short term, but in the long term as well. And I think that's very important. So, look, I think that, if you're a supply sider and you believe the tax cuts are important, I get that. I may disagree with elements or all of it, but you can't have it both ways. You can't cut taxes and increase spending, finance wars in Afghanistan, finance wars in Iraq. You can't underestimate the cost of those things and find out that, there was one government official that said that the war in Iraq would cost us $50 billion. Well, it's going to be $1 trillion, and it's not going to be people today that are paying for it, certainly, but it's going to be future generations. So I think that honesty in budgeting is important, and if your proposals, aren't compelling, then don't advance them in the first place.
I agree. Going back to the stimulus for just a second, there right now we have the $787 billion stimulus package. We also have $410 billion in an appropriations bill. We have a projection of $1.84 trillion budget deficit this year. We have issues like Social Security coming home to roost sooner or later, where the surplus has effectively vanished. Your Congressional Budget Office has predicted that the excess, the revenue will be about $653 billion this year, and the outflow will be $659 billion, thus erasing the deficit, which was predicted to not happen until 2017. Well, now it's 2009. This is being fueled by what you talked about earlier in terms of job losses. If there were more jobs, we wouldn't have as little revenue into that system as we do. But also benefits are up 9% through cost of living and the introduction of baby boomers into that system. That's a kind of a witch's brew of a lot of financial trouble, and they're predicting right now, again, I think this is the Associated Press, I believe, reported that if you look at the current deficits that the administration itself is projecting, it's averaging some $500 billion per year from 2010 to 2019. That's $7.1 trillion. Yet the president says that he doesn't want to saddle future generations with big problems. Make some sense of that for us.
Well, every president
in
says,
4 minutes or less.
Yeah, but the problem is, historically, every president says that they don't want to saddle future generations with huge debts, but they do it, both Democrats and Republicans. I think, the best way for the American economy to grow and to reduce the deficit is to promote an economy that grows and diversifies and embraces innovation, so that we do the things that we do today more efficiently tomorrow, and that enhances American competitiveness. Over the years, we have experienced a major realignment in the American economy. We used to make things and sell them to the rest of the world. Now the rest of the world makes the things that we used to sell to them, and they sell it back to us. But because our deficit is so high, we have to borrow money from the people that are selling products to us. What's wrong with that? Well, we have to promote more American innovation, not only in the manufacturing sector in the old economy, but in the new economy as well. And that's what the climate change bill is all about. I still live in what used to be in the shadows of Republic in Bethlehem Steel. Bethlehem Steel employed some 28,000 people during the Vietnam War. Republic Steel employed some 6,000 people. My dad he was a bricklayer. He did fire brick at the Republic Steel site. Now there's nothing there. It's 220 acres of brownfield. But in the last 24 months, there has been activity there. And that is, people are working. They're assembling windmills for the installation throughout Western New York. Hundreds of people working on a regular basis. And my point is that we can find opportunity in the new economy because of our historical past. In other words, Buffalo and Western New York, that historically had a strong, diversified industrial manufacturing economy, still has the infrastructure to facilitate new business investment and job growth in the new economy, in what some people refer to as the green economy. There's a company called Sunworks that manufactures solar panels based in San Francisco. We did the climate change bill. My first call was to the CEO of that company and said, look, we have the infrastructure here in Western New York because our economy is declined over the past 30 years. We also have some incentives, including low-cost hydroelectricity to help facilitate your need to expand. We'd like Buffalo and Western New York to become the supply center, if you will, for the entire Northeast in terms of manufacturing of highly efficient glass products for new building construction and for solar panels. So I think that's where the potential opportunities exist.
Well, I couldn't agree more with you about particularly the hydroelectric power issue. And we had one of our state senators on last week, George Maziarz, to discuss that. That's right in his district. Of course, the most efficient producer of hydroelectric power in the world is within a short distance of us here. Yet we tax the daylights out of that such that inexpensive to produce power is very expensive to the end user unless we create some benefit, some giveaway program on the tail end of that whole thing, power, jobs for power or something, whatever it's called. Anyway, we only have a short period of time. You covered so much ground in your last set of comments there that you got my brain going, and I want to come back to things like the cost of creating jobs in a new economy. Particularly when you look at countries like Spain that have invested so much into wind power and are now having enormous economic problems, very high unemployment, and very high cost to create those jobs. But unfortunately, we have to go to break. We'll be back with more from Our House to Yours after these messages.